So with only 2 weeks to go before Trump takes office, these blue state governors, they are gearing up for how to go to battle over Trump's immigration policies. That is the number one item on these big states' agendas. And by the way, if you hear something in the background, there is a violent storm outside right now. So why are they so concerned with Trump's plan to remove violent criminal aliens from their states? Why? Why are they coming out publicly opposing Tom Homan, Trump's new border czar? Why are they jumping down the throat of New York City Mayor Eric Adams after he broke from the herd and said publicly he will be working with the Trump administration on deportations? Why? Why was it such a big deal? Well, we may have some answers after this internal memo was leaked to Politico from an insider on California Governor Gavin Newsom's team from his office. This memo was marked confidential, not intended for public consumption. Well, Politico, to their credit, published the details. And let's just say, Gavin Newsom's had one busy holiday, finding himself slammed with questions from constituents and reporters wanting to know why their governor plans to use taxpayer money, your money, to fight Trump's deportation agenda. Wait till you see this. And it's not just the 25 mil that was reported on a few weeks ago. Newsom's plans are far wider ranging than that. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So after we just witnessed one of the worst, most depraved crimes committed on camera, on CCTV footage only days before Christmas, committed by an undocumented migrant on the New York City subway, immolating a woman, and sitting down to watch afterward, the nation as a whole just saw that play out, saw the NYPD catch the suspect, perp walk him, make a point to show that this crime never would have happened. That New Yorker, that American would still be alive today if not for these sanctuary city and state laws.
That's right. That's because her body was so badly burned that it has made this process extremely difficult for the medical examiner's office. So they're still in that process. In the meantime, a grand jury has now indicted 33-year-old Sebastian Zepeda. Now, he is charged with multiple counts. He is charged with one count of first-degree murder, 3 counts of second-degree murder, and 1 count of first-degree arson. Now, if he is convicted, he will face the possibility of life in prison without parole. Now, the prosecutors are saying that Zepeda used a lighter to set a sleeping woman on fire on a subway car in Coney Island and then waved a shirt to fan the fire. The woman was quickly engulfed in flames. Earlier this week, ICE reported that Zepeda is from Guatemala, that he is here in the U.S. illegally, and he was deported back in 2018, but then made it across the border again illegally.
Crimes like that continue to happen across the country, largely in these blue cities and blue states. And now Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom has been caught plotting ways to use your money, your tax dollars, on fighting Trump's deportation policy. That's according to an internal memo obtained by Politico, who published the details of it. Credit to them. I don't know if they were thinking this made Newsom look good to the left, or if they were actually doing their job, details of which I doubt they realized, but help Tom Homan do his job. These people have to come to grips with the fact that this isn't 2016. Trump's not having it. Trump's team isn't having it anymore. Tom Homan hasn't directly addressed Newsom's plan yet, but as Trump's border czar, Homan has warned and explained to all U.S. governors, if you defy these mass deportations, you will be committing felonies under U.S. law. Watch.
Your deportation plan is going to start in a big way in Chicago. And you said the governor and the mayor can either help you or get out of the way. But you also said if he, meaning the mayor, if he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors or conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him. So you will not only go after the illegal migrants, you may go after some mayors who aren't helping.
If they step over that line, they can sit back and watch us, which, I find incredible. You don't want to take public safety threats out of your community and help us. But there are laws on the books that we will prosecute. It's 18 U.S.C. 111, impeding a federal law enforcement officer is a felony. Title 8 United States Code 1324 III. If you knowingly conceal or harbor an illegal alien from ICE, that is a felony.
So what this memo shows is Newsom's team collaborating with the Department of Social Services and other parts of his government to build what he calls a new intel hub, what they call an immigrant support network, like an intel agency at the state level that creates these hubs to collect critical intel on communities in order to coordinate policies statewide. The plan will allow California to build a complete infrastructure, they say, to locate, to prepare, and to defend at-risk illegals before ICE has a chance to even intercept them. The same way, let's say, that the CIA uses their vast array of satellites and AI to track down the bad guys. Well, that's the idea here. But instead of tracking down the illegals to remove them, they're tracking them down to protect them from ICE, getting to them before ICE does. You can't make this up. Using your money, tax money, to pay for all of this, including the legal fees the migrant will rack up when fighting Trump's deportation efforts. Watch this.
So the Democratic resistance to the incoming Trump administration is growing. The Oregon Attorney General is now creating a sanctuary toolkit, as they call it, to help residents refresh their knowledge of the state's relevant laws, specifically those related to sanctuary policies. California's Governor Gavin Newsom is also reportedly considering a, quote, immigrant support plan, he's calling it, to counter those deportations. The program would connect at-risk individuals and their families with community systems such as legal services and schools. Arizona Republican Congresswoman Debbie Lesko says this.
Why would Democrats want to, provide a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants and prioritize illegal over American citizens? I don't get it, but they've been doing this for years. I've been in the state legislature, then in Congress, and they keep prioritizing illegal immigrants over U.S. citizens. It's a real head scratcher. I don't get it.
And before we dig into this, realize it's not just California. All of these blue sanctuary states and cities are biting their nails since Trump won last month. Politico admits in this piece, writing, Newsom and his allies are particularly worried and concerned about Trump's pledged mass deportations and the ripple effects in California, which is the largest population of undocumented residents in the country. These blue states are worried. They spend so much political capital on getting these migrants here, they can't afford to lose them. We're going to explain why in a minute. This is the reason we've seen them come out in force, though, immediately after Trump won. Remember this?
We're not going to cooperate. We're not going to ask our police force to serve as ICE agents.
I'm going to do everything that I can to protect our undocumented immigrants. They're residents of our state.
I will fight you every step of the way.
If it's contrary to our values, we will fight to the death.
Would the Massachusetts State Police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not.
We are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear.
Well, up until now, all we've seen is this scatterbrain approach opposing this. Nobody realized Trump would have this mandate like he does. No one thought he would sweep the Congress, win the popular vote, win the Electoral College, but he did. Well, no more scatterbrain, folks. They are now getting organized. California's plan has been leaked, and they're putting your money, where their mouth is. And look, the state of California is special. It's the largest state in the country, economically speaking. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful state. If you've never driven up the 101, north up the 101 to Oregon, I highly recommend you do that at some point. It's got some of the last old-growth redwood stands on the planet. Just the sheer size of these trees as you're driving, they make tractor trailers look tiny. True story, when I was out there, none of the photos that I take would do it justice, would actually capture just how big these forests were until this big rig drove by as I was taking a photo. That was when you finally captured on your camera just how enormous these trees are. They're ancient. Anyways, there's this battle brewing in California right now. Donald Trump wants to open it up, solve many of the problems that have plagued that state for decades. And Newsom, he's preparing to fight to prevent that. First and foremost, that means protecting the illegal immigrants that Trump's border czar is coming after. Realize California's got the highest illegal migrant population in the nation. Hands down, bar none. Migrants are drawn to the Golden State not only because of these sanctuary state laws, but also because many of them work there illegally under the table in the ag space, in the agriculture sector. Huge illegal migrant workforce in California. It's equivalent to slave labor, folks. It's why you see so many Democrats, California Democrats specifically, always bringing this up, saying things like, who's going to pick our crops if you deport them? Watch.
The fact is that we have a responsibility to secure our border. We also have a responsibility to recognize the importance of newcomers to our nation. Right now, the best thing that we can do for our economy is to have comprehensive immigration reform. We have a shortage of workers in our country, and you see even in Florida, some of the farmers and the growers saying, why are you shipping these immigrants up north? We need them to pick the crops down here. But that doesn't mean that we don't recognize our moral responsibility as well.
All they're doing is flooding the market with this cheap labor for their corporate overlords, keeping wages artificially low. And sidebar real quick, did you know that since Joe Biden came into office, 100% of new job creation went to undocumented migrants? This is a real stat under the Biden administration. When Trump tried to point this out during the campaign, the media laughed at him. They mocked him, saying that's not true, but it is. These numbers are from the St. Louis Fed, which means not only has all job creation in the past 4 years been exclusively for foreign-born workers, but native-born workers have lost jobs. There's been a negative job creation, negative net job creation for native-born workers since December 2019. It's criminal. What the Biden administration has done is criminal. What Gavin Newsom is doing is criminal. Especially the fact that he's using your tax dollars to pay for it all. It's an impeachable offense, in my opinion. Importing over 10 million undocumented migrants who are taking the jobs of Americans is criminal. They're breaking the law, and many of those migrants are residing in the state of California. Check this out. Newsom's team mulls immigrant support plan to counter Trump deportations. An internal memo obtained by Politico shows the governor's office is considering different ways to help undocumented migrants and their families. California Governor Gavin Newsom's administration is drafting a potential plan to help undocumented immigrants who may be threatened by incoming President Trump's mass deportation threats, including resources to find legal aid, to pay for legal aid. That means your tax dollars will be paying for the legal fees of these illegal migrants. Let's just pause there for a minute. This is not why you pay taxes, folks. All of this is backwards. We've been psychologically manipulated to just accept paying taxes and letting the government use our money for whatever the hell they want. It's backwards, all of it. American citizens should pay zero income tax. This only started as a temporary measure. Income taxes, federal income taxes started as a temporary measure to raise money for the war. It was temporary. It was always intended to be temporary. But like always, once you give the government an inch, they take a mile. And if you're asking, how would the government function? How would they fund themselves if there weren't income taxes? How they always had, solely on sales tax and tariffs. Look at this. The governor called a special legislative session shortly after the election to approve an additional $25 million in state funds for potential federal litigation. For instance, according to the draft, the California Department of Social Services would distribute state funds to eligible nonprofits and take on administrative duties for the hubs, for these new hubs that Newsom wants to create. The draft does not indicate how much funding the plan would require, but it says it would go toward community outreach, partnership, legal services, staffing positions, and approved administrative costs associated with hub operations. They're just throwing your money away, folks. It's disgraceful. And keep in mind, California, they have a $60 billion deficit this year. That means they spent $60 billion more than they brought in after taxing us 15%. It's because of these stupid spending measures that they're in this mess. What Gavin Newsom and the rest of these left-wing politicians don't realize is that people want Trump to do this. They support this. They support mass deportations. New polling shows they do. They are sick and tired of the lawlessness. The harder these people fight it, the worse it'll be for them in the next election. That's my opinion. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.